Howdy, folks. I'm Garish Gardenia, gently gardening grouchy grapes.
I'm Amber.
And here are more grouchy grapes for us to read. Oh, wait, they're just sour grapes Reddit readers. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Husband That He's Too Broke to Be Sexist? Throwaway. So, my husband comes from a traditional family. My mom's a stay-at-home mom, my father's a sole provider. I come from the opposite. My mother is pretty much forbid me from ever be financially dependent on a man and drilled it into my head early on. My husband worked hard to unlearn those values that he saw replicated at his home. He, more often than not, pulled his weight at home, was an engaged and present father, and a genuine partner. The only thing that grinds my gears is how much weight he puts on the opinions of his family. I get that we all want our parents to be proud of us, but this is too much. My in-laws are staying with us for 2 weeks. Our usual MO is that I prep for breakfast, we all eat lunch at work/school, and my husband makes us dinner. We have a cleaner, but she's on holiday right now, so in the meantime, we're DIYing our cleaning, where it's going down to everyone to keep their own space clean and common spaces that we all clean together. This is how we've always done it, and it works. My in-laws hate that I'm one of the modern women. They hate that I work, they hate that I don't find my purpose in being a wife and a mother, and that they hate that my husband pulls his weight at home. We spoke pretty frankly early on, where I established my boundaries, and I told them that I won't be chastised about how I live my life in my home. When I'm a guest in their home, I accommodate their ways, and I play the daughter-in-law they wish I was. They have, for the most part, respected this. I got home yesterday after work, tired and starving. I typically get home about 6:15/30, and we eat about 7. I said hellos quickly, and then I ran up for a pre-dinner shower. When I came down, I went to the kitchen to help set up for the dinner, and I found nothing ready. I asked my husband about it, but he wouldn't look at me. And his mother answered that he hadn't cooked anything. She told me that I needed to do my duty as a wife and cook for my family. My coward of a husband still wasn't looking at me. I just walked away and I ordered takeaway. I dished it up for me and my kids, and then we sat at the table and ate. My husband and his parents served themselves as well and joined us. My mother-in-law was going on about what was wrong with me and that I was a failure. I asked my husband if he had anything to say, and he said that his mother had a point and it wouldn't hurt if I acted more like a proper woman and took better care of my home and children. He said that tradition was tradition for a reason, and that it was kind of insulting that I thought I was too good for how he was raised. This is where I might be the jerk. I told him that tradition won't allow a man on a $35,000 salary to support a family of 5, and he was too broke to be sexist. He looked kind of hurt, and I saw tears welling up in his eyes. He excused himself from the table. I regret saying this in front of our children, but him saying that to me after I bust my butt to clean up after his messes on top of having to deal with his parents was way too much for me. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I think that was 100% called for. He and his mom decided to attack you in front of the children.
Yeah.
And their words are going to have an impact on what your children internalize. You don't want them internalizing this misogynistic garbage. It's important to let him know that what he is doing is not okay, and he has no right to treat you like that.
So, I mean, I think that everyone's going to have a different way to run their households, right? And I mean, I think that certainly some people are going to have a more traditional household, and that's perfectly fine, right? Like, I don't think like that's, if you really like this kind of lifestyle and you want to live that lifestyle where the woman, does all the chores and, does all the cooking and cleaning, and the husband does all of the work and, brings home the money, that if that setup works for you and you're happy with that, I'm not going to judge your lifestyle. But you shouldn't force that kind of lifestyle onto other people.
Well, the language they're using is very gross, like about being a proper woman and how she's not taking proper care of her house and children. Like, she is pulling her weight in her household and then some.
Yeah.
And the husband is not pulling his share.
Yeah. And I do agree, the language you're using is problematic because either case is there. If you choose to be a more traditional in a traditional household, then that's a choice. It doesn't make you a more proper woman than somebody like OP who is, working and, supporting their family, right?
Yeah, so for them to just like ambush you like this is really gross. Honestly, in-laws need to go stay somewhere else for the rest of the time.
Oh, for sure.
They should not be around your kids when you're not there to supervise them. Like, I don't trust what they're saying about you. Like, if they say this to your face, what are they saying behind your back? What kind of messages are they instilling? And they've undermined your authority, and your husband's not backing you up.
Yeah. Well, and then he's also with his whole tradition is tradition type thing, right? Well, OP grew up in another type of household. That's how it is for them. So why is that their or her lifestyle not good enough for their children? And this is something it sounds like they talked about before they had children, before they got too deep in this relationship. He was willing to make the change to be more accommodating of OP's, desires and lifestyle. If he had a problem, then he shouldn't have married OP.
Right. And so I would say at a minimum couples counseling, because he is the issue in this. He could have stepped in at any point in time and stood up for you, and he's not. He just lets his parents walk all over you and then backs them up.
Yeah.
And so at a minimum, definitely get into couples counseling so he can, hopefully learn to be a better person and stand up for you and stop letting his parents treat you badly.
Yeah, I agree. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk for Telling My Girlfriend That She Can't Frog It Around Me Anymore? And Amber wants to read this one.
This is a throwaway because the whole situation is so ridiculous and I don't want it associated with my normal account. So my girlfriend eats popcorn by frogging it, which means she picks up a handful, brings it up to her mouth and sticks out her tongue and quickly pulls pieces into her mouth. The first time I saw her do this, I was very confused and a little put off. I asked her what she was doing and she just said, I'm frogging it. I thought it was kind of cute. It felt a little silly, but didn't think much else of it at the time. I didn't realize she was utterly incapable of eating popcorn any other way. I think it's gross and weird. It seems silly, but the sounds and visuals are very childlike to me, which is very off-putting, especially because when she frogs it, she'll often giggle in a very, unnaturally for her, high-pitched way if she drops a piece of popcorn or one falls off her tongue while she does it. She already isn't the most mature person who ever lived, and she definitely leans into being pretty quirky, which I really like about her, but can also kind of slip into childishness. I know that watching New Girl was very formative to her, so I don't know if the whole frogging it thing is from that show or whatever. I've asked her to please eat popcorn like a normal person around me, but she rolls her eyes and tells me that I don't have a say in how she eats anything, which is fair in theory, but listening to her mouth smacking for 45 plus minutes every time we watch TV or a movie, a couple of times a week, is beginning to have an adverse effect on my mental health. I'm at the end of my rope here. There is only so much frogging a man can take. Will I be the jerk if I unequivocally tell her she can't do her hellish popcorn ritual around me? She can't do it. She can do it all she wants when I'm not in the room. I just can't deal with hearing it anymore. Edit, just to clear up a few things. 1. Misophonia. Yes, I have misophonia, but it's not the primary driver of my frustration, which is how this situation keeps repeating itself. 2. My girlfriend. I do actually love my girlfriend a lot. I know it really doesn't seem like it, and I totally get why people think I don't deserve her, but I really do think she's the greatest woman in the world. I also don't think she's doing it to upset me, or why this is our hill to die on. 3. Alternative snacks. I do always have alternative snacks like pretzel rolls, mixed nuts, berries and fruits, chips, all the good stuff. These are all foods that my girlfriend loves and that I take care of providing. She'll still choose popcorn over these foods, as is her right, but also that is kind of frustrating for me personally. 4. Overreaction. Yep, I definitely think I've let this build up for too long without having a proper sit-down conversation with my girlfriend. I'm going to take the rest of the day to really go through my thoughts and figure out what I'm actually feeling and how to properly convey that to my girlfriend in a way that doesn't make her feel that I think less of her or want her to change her. When she gets home this evening, we'll talk it out. Thank you everyone who commented a message. You all gave me some great perspective and I really appreciate it. I 100% would be wrong to dictate what my girlfriend can do, and I've definitely been approaching this in the wrong way.
All right, folks, what do you think of that?
I mean, I'm glad that the comments have helped OP. I think his initial reaction is very much, not okay. It's something that she enjoys, a way of eating popcorn, and it's harmless. And I understand it can be frustrating when people do certain things, but I don't understand beyond the misophonia angle, to be honest.
Yeah, that part I don't understand. It seems like he just doesn't like the sound of it because, like in his description there, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to hear her munching on the popcorn for 45 minutes," right? That seemed like his biggest gripe about it. So maybe he has more complicated feelings with it. Maybe it's like he just used your like childish or something like that.
That's what vibe I'm getting here, is that the misophonia is a secondary issue and that it's really more about she is not acting mature enough for his liking.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate, because it sounds like he really liked this in the beginning, that she was quote unquote quirky and had these quirks. But anytime he feels like it's too childish, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, too childish or too weird or something like that. And that's unfortunate, right? Like, this may be one of those situations where if he can't accept his girlfriend for who she is, then maybe it's time to find a new girlfriend, right?
Right.
And again, like I would understand this if it was like a sensory issue where he was getting really disturbed by her constant smacking and stuff like that, and being like, can we actually choose a food that's a little less distracting? It's, hard for me to pay attention to the movie and when I hear you eating popcorn like this, right? And I think that he just needs to mind his own business about how his girlfriend's eating popcorn at the end of the day, if it isn't the sound that's bothering him, though.
Yeah, and like if it is this much of an issue, maybe find other activities to do, because it sounds like she associates the popcorn with watching movies. And a lot of people do. A lot of people, that's their go-to movie snack. And so maybe they can find something else to do with their time instead of watching movies if it's going to be this big of an issue.
Yeah. I have frogged popcorn in the past.
Oh yeah, same.
I don't know, like I don't think that that's all that uncommon of a thing for people to do, right?
Well, right, and it sounds like she's not, like, if it was a communal tub and she was just like sticking
Oh,
her head
yeah.
in there, that would be one thing. But it sounds like she's taking it in her hand and eating it out of her hand.
Yeah, I mean, I just do it in the communal tub, which I think is why most people have a problem with when I do it. But anyhow, let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care.
How often do you frog popcorn?
Yeah, how often do you frog popcorn? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Allow My Daughter to Use My Son's Stuff? I have a daughter, a 15-year-old female, and a son, a 16-year-old male. My daughter has always been interested in everything that my son picks up and has a habit of one-upping him. For example, when I encouraged my son to try to learn to code, he was struggling with a bit and having a hard time learning Python, an easier language. And she went ahead and obsessively learned C++, which is a much more technical and hard language to learn. My daughter is very good at math and has learned stuff beyond her level, so it isn't much of a challenge for her, and I feel like she uses this to harm his self-esteem. She made a program to visualize multivariate graphs. I have a hobby/fun stuff budget that I set aside for both of the kids, and she has already exhausted hers as she takes dance classes and plays soccer and has a bunch of expensive clothes. Recently, I decided to get a subscription called Hack Pack for my son from a startup company by a YouTuber named Mark Rober, who was an ex-NASA engineer that makes kits of robotic components that you can play around with. You get different kits on a subscription basis. My daughter asked if she could borrow it too and play around with it. I told her that she couldn't, as it was for her brother. I have a feeling that she would try to one-up his creations and try to make him feel bad. I told her that she already had her allocated hobby funds. I also don't want to risk her breaking things. She once borrowed his old desktop computer when he got a new laptop, claiming that she wanted to test stuff that needed multiple computers. And she did something that broke it to the point where it would have artifacts on the display after 10 minutes of turning it on, and the video card had to be replaced. Am I the jerk here? She's quite upset at me, but I feel that she needs to understand that she can't just be entitled to her brother's stuff. Alright folks, what do you think?
I mean, I do think OP is the jerk here, but not for not letting her borrow her brother's stuff. I think the bigger issue is that OP is reading malice where it doesn't seem to exist. It sounds like their daughter is just really into computers and sciencey stuff, and really wants to do that, and OP is trying to make this into a weird competition thing. Like, it sounds like she's just more talented in that area than her brother. I'm not even clear that her brother is interested in the programming. It sounds like OP really wants their son to program. They've got a daughter who is really interested in programming and robotics. And like, my biggest questions here are, is she like, the things that her fun money is going toward, are those things that she actually wants it to, or are those what OP is dictating? Like, is dance soccer, clothes, are those the things that she really wants, or are those the things that OP expects her to want?
Yeah, well, and I also did read some of the comments, and he basically, they've been deleted at this point in time, but she is eligible to be put in advanced math classes, and he refuses to do that, and she, it sounds like she's kind of bored in school, and, she likes doing a lot of these sciencey type of activities. I don't know that he's really supporting her in the way that she needs to be supported.
Right. It sounds like he's stifling her to spare her brother's feelings, which is not a good way to treat your children.
Yeah, and I can understand him wanting to make sure that their son has, as much resources as possible to be as successful as possible. That certainly is fine. But I think that if your son has to learn that there are going to be people out there who are better at things than him, right? And that he's not always going to be the number one. Maybe he can use this as an incentive to do better and, basically improve his skills, right? Or seek help from his sister. See, collaborate with her and try to understand how she, knows this stuff, right?
Yeah, if he's even interested. Like, I'm not even getting the vibe from this post that he necessarily is upset that his sister is more interested or better. Maybe he just doesn't even care, and this is OP's weird internalization going on.
Yeah.
Because it seems like OP has these very specific ideas of, I want my son to do this thing. My son isn't doing this. My daughter's actually doing this. So she's just one-upping him, and I've got to put her in her place.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Today, my wife said I love you for the first time, and I've been crying like a baby. And Amber wants to read this one.
It is very difficult for my wife to be affectionate with words. She shows her love with actions. She's told me, take hero, I adore you, etc. many times. Her love language is actions and physical contact. When I say I love you, she always says me too. It never bothered me since I know she never said the word to anyone, not even her family, because of things she lived with during school, and now just hates to feel weak in front of other people. She hates to be vulnerable and always show herself like a cold person to the people who don't know her, although she's really sweet with me and our baby. When her parents tell her they love her, she just nods even though she loves them too. She feels that word would make her too vulnerable with the person she says it to. We've been married for long years. I'm the only partner she's had. She was putting our baby, he's literally just 6 days old, to sleep. Out of nowhere, she said, hey, I love you, and I love you too, to me and the baby. I had no other reaction but to hug her, but when I went to the bathroom, I started crying a little because I was so happy for her, and she said that as if nothing, in a moment of pure peace. It was like feeling her finally find her own peace, and I'm just too happy for her. She found out, and after that, she was all night pampering me and telling me that she loves me, to which I could only cry. I've always known she loves me, so that didn't make me sentimental, but what makes me cry is that she chose me to be the first person she feels safe to be vulnerable with. I know how much it means to her being able to say those words too. I want us to be vulnerable together without any shame. I'm just crying because I'm so proud of her. I know how hard it feels to finally be able to be vulnerable. I love her too much and I'll never let her down. Edit. I would never be in that kind of relationship. Okay, I didn't ask. This is a positive post and I don't need that negative comment. It's ridiculous how some Reddit people take an innocent post and make it something negative, and even say that my wife will be a bad mother or take for granted things about our relationship that they don't know. Love is shown in thousands of ways that are not words. There are couples who say I love you to each other all the time but don't feel it. I don't understand how many people in the comments believe that a couple's love comes down to who says I love you the most. I'm not that insecure. There's even someone who's downvoting all the positive comments. I hope everyone can find a partner who makes you feel loved without the need for words or forcing situations.
What do you think of that post?
It's so wholesome. It's unfortunate people are being negative because I just saw this and it just warmed my heart. I was like, "Aw, this is so awesome."
It's very sweet. It's a very sweet post. I mean, I'm glad that she has found peace and comfort at this point in time, and I'm glad that OP isn't a mean, terrible person and uses that insecurity against her. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Did the owl have a good vacation?
The owl had a hooting good time.
Pretty much. Yes, it was a hoot.
It was a hoot. And I have Mega Mint. At least it wasn't another chicken joke. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior!
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please have it in the form of something that's wholesome.
Love comes in many different forms, but it's all equally valid.
I think that is a lovely moral. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.